Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. We've got some fantastic questions for you today on this side of the screen. We'll go through them in just a moment. Don't forget, you know, the whole like, share, subscribe, all that sort of YouTube stuff. But most importantly, if you like the videos that I produce, the things that I put out for free, including Kendo Rant and the instructional videos, which there'll be more of coming soon, I promise. Don't forget to support us by shopping at kendostar.com. There's a logo there. Kendostar.com, it's my website, of course. It sells amazing, fantastic, wonderful Kendo equipment. And if you don't believe me, because of course I would say that, it's my business, right? If you don't believe me, check out like our Trustpilot rating. We're the highest rated website online for Kendo equipment. So yeah, you get awesome gear, you get to support the channel, everybody wins. Okay, so go and shop at kendostar.com. Right, first question. Thank you, Andy. Is the official guide for Kendo instruction in digital form because I'm blind and I cannot read printed text, but I listen to the to my phone read me digital text or Audible? Thank you for answering my previous question. So no, unfortunately, it's not. They haven't put out any digital books like that yet. To be honest, Japan's quite behind on that sort of thing in general. In my experience, certainly the All Japan Kendo Federation are. So, yeah, I'm afraid there isn't a digital version of it as yet. And I don't know of one on the horizon either, unfortunately. So, sorry about that. Right, next one. I am Nidan in e-idol. I started Kendo before Corona and had a few sessions, but then a break. Also, I watched a few of the videos in order to get a better grip on Kendo. So returned to your channel because I'm getting back into Kendo and wanted to refresh the basics. Well, good. Welcome back. Thus, my reaction to this video, because we talked a bit about it last time, got it. I finally got the movement of cutting in Kendo. It's the same in e-idol. Different lies in the distance between you and your opponent. Don't lift your sword so much as to lose semi on your rival. So the cut is smaller, but from the top of the head to the chin, but the hand movement is the same as in lifting your sword for a full cut. Thank you for your work. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I can't correct you if you're wrong, because I've got no idea how you do it in e-idol. So I'm not going to correct it. All I know is that I don't even know that. So I'm not going to comment on how you do things in e-idol. Got a question about rotation after passing an opponent. In e-idol, in Moritsuke, which I think is the name of one of the kata, right? And basically any other form, when your right foot is in front and you just turn 180 degrees, your left foot is now in front. And then you move your right foot to the front. So my question is, why not leave the left foot in front when turning and leaving it there in front? It seems to be an option to put semi on your opponent faster than turning and still moving away from him or her. What are your thoughts on this? No, it's not a good idea to do that in Kendo. You need your left leg to perform fumikiri. That's the push off, all right? Most of us are not, including myself, are not sort of ambidextrous. Is that a word when it's your foot? I don't know, but can't do fumikomi just like that with the left foot in front and launch forward with the strike, especially from Chudan. So that's why you need to be able to launch instantly. It's too slow to do what you're saying. It's too slow. You can't attack immediately, and you won't have any semblance of semi on your opponent if you turn around with your left foot in front. Okay, so we don't do it like that because it's just not practical and it's too slow. All right. I know it might not make sense to you that it seems too slow to leave your feet where they are and just turn your body, but that's because you can't make an effective attack from that position. So you've got no chance of your opponent feeling semi from you at all because you can't make an attack. You need to give the impression that you are a credible threat in order for semi to work. All right. Next one. Hi, Andy. In the terms Enzan no Metsuke, looking at the far mountain, and Ganriki, eye power, are commonly used. Are there any other names or terms in Japanese for different forms of uses of Metsuke? If so, please can you share share a few? Thanks. So Enzan no Metsuke, they're looking at far mountain. That's the concept of when you look at a mountain, you look at the whole mountain. You don't just look at the sort of one part of it. You can, of course, just look at one part of it, but that is the idea is that's how we should observe our aite, our partner in Kendo. You shouldn't just look at their eyes or just look at one area. Of course, your gaze is fixed at one point, usually the eyes, sometimes the throat, or some people even like to fix their eyes on the sort of hands. I prefer the eyes, but it's you have to watch the whole thing. Okay, so while your eyes are looking at one thing, you're seeing everything, yeah, as if you were looking at a mountain in the distance. So no, that is by far and away the most common way of expressing that term. By far and away, yeah. Other than that, like if teachers were kind of explaining that a bit more in depth, like I've just done, they just use the appropriate Japanese language to do so. There's no like other idioms or Japanese phrases that encapsulate that. So yeah, let's stick with Enzan no Metsuke. Okay, Metsuke means to fix your eyes on something. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Hi Andy, can you explain why Kendoka don't outwardly wear their rank? As you know, in other martial arts, you can easily spot the instructor and all senior grades. It's been nearly 2 months of Kendo. I have no idea what rank anyone is, including the instructor. Pretty sure she did an introduction. Our clubs are mostly university-based, so we have the opportunity to train with 3 or 4 clubs a week. We'll join the senior class soon, and everyone will look the same in Borgo. How do you tell who is who? The main reason is because in Kendo especially, rank is very much a personal thing. Your sort of Dan grade is very much a personal thing. People don't interact with each other in the Japanese system based on their grade as much as they do on their age or other connections that they have. So even if someone's a higher grade than me, a lower grade than me, if they're older, I would still address them as a senior or treat them as a senior. And I'd still call them sensei and stuff like that. So that's a big reason why it's like that. Obviously there's a historical reason as well, in that like the grades that we use in Kendo have been imported from other systems, mainly judo, but and they've changed a lot over the years as well. And the other thing you've got to remember is that, like, for the most part, unlike karate or judo, like shodan, which is in judo, for example, is the first black belt. In Kendo, most people get shodan, and I'm talking in Japan, which is where most Kendo happens. Yeah, and that's what everyone's system is based around. Most people get shodan when they're like 13. Right, so then everybody has a Dan rank unless you're a child, and then when you're a child it goes off what year you're in rather than what grade you are. Nobody cares what Q they are. They don't separate anyone by Q, they separate them by year, school year, and then after that, yeah, then they everyone's first Dan after they're a junior high school student. So then everyone is the same. Everyone's a Dan grade anyway. So if we were to take on like the judo system, everyone would have the same color belt anyway. So I think that's largely why it is. Kendo doesn't originally have that culture in it of having the visual displays of grade. The grade is supposed to be a personal journey. All right. And yet, of course, it is an indicator, and it's something, you know, especially in very high grades, 7th Dan, 8th Dan sort of thing. Of course, that's a point where it becomes more recognized as a teacher than when you are that. But, you know, people of that level, they don't need to wear the grade for people to know who they are and what they're about. So I wouldn't worry about it. All right, just treat everybody with respect and polite, and be polite, and listen to what everybody's got to say. And you can't go far wrong. The people who are obviously the senseis, the teachers, they're your teachers. It doesn't matter what grade they are, right? If they're the teachers in your club, follow what they're saying. Next one. Hi Fish Sensei, I was wondering what the correct Kiai for Kirikaishi is. As a beginner, I see other advanced Kendoka doing 1 set of Kirikaishi in 2 full breaths, with the 9 shomen strikes being continuous men Kiai. However, other Q grade Kendoka often do Kirikaishi relatively slow and do it correctly. Maintaining a continuous men Kiai is impossible, as we'd run out of air by the 6th or 7th men strike. What would be the best possible way to go about doing Kirikaishi with proper Kiai for a beginner? I have beginner non-Borga Kihon Taikai in my state Georgia Saturday, and I'm beyond anxious and stressed as this is my first competition. Thank you so much and your help with these wonderful videos. Okay, right. don't get stressed about the competition. Don't get stressed. I know it's stressful. I was the same at my first competition when I was like starting out. But honestly, you don't need to be. It's going to be fine. All right? It's going to be fine. Just do your best. Nobody cares about anything else than that. About the question, right? When you do advanced Kirikaishi, there's a few ways that people say you should do the shouting, all right? For me, the advanced, when I say advanced, I mean with the bogo on, the full sort of thing. For me, you start with your initial kakegoe, yeah, then step into your distance, man, and I take a breath there, man, take a quick breath, taiatari sometimes, usually taiatari, man, 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 this way, yeah, now you can take another breath. Man, 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 man. This part is important, man. Yeah, keeping man, this part is important. Yeah. But when you're doing the beginner version or slower version, then obviously it can be quite hard, especially in the early stages, to do the full thing in that sort of breathing pattern. So you don't have to. What I would recommend though is more. We're going to go slow. Start your far distance. Yeah! Step in. Mem! 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 And if you need to breathe, you can breathe here. Yeah? Mem! 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 And then, at this point, if you can, yeah? Man! Mem! That bit. I'd try to link together. All right? And you can breathe in between the others, but if you're gonna link any of them together, it's that last hidari men, the yoko men, the last one that you do. Man, back to your distance, men. This way, all right. That's what I would do. Okay. And relax. Your tournament's gonna be just fine. All right. Just do your very best. That's all anybody wants. Next one. Hello again, Andy. My friend and I were discussing how the rules around Tsuba-zerei had changed during the pandemic in Japan, yeah, and the likelihood of the rules returning to normal at some point, hopefully soon. I personally think having time to clash up close is an important part of Kendo, but I also think the quality of the matches has improved since there's far less time wasting. We're going to disagree on this. Perhaps a change that meets somewhere in the middle will be best. We also wondered why there isn't Hansoku for allowing them to place the Shinai directly on you for an extended period of time without attempting to remove it or defend yourself. Okay, two good questions. So first, let's talk about the new rules, the temporary rules, let's refer to them as, all right? Because that's what they've been sort of brought in under the sort of title of, all right? So I'm hoping the temporary, right? Because I agree, Tsuba-zerei is equally as an important aspect of Kendo as fighting from Chudan. And it kind of grinds my gears a bit when people sort of like, well, you know, and I'm not directing this at you, but you have raised this point that's very, very common, where it's like, well, it does make the matches, like improve the quality of the matches and there's less time wasting. Like, what do you mean by time wasting? Do you know, like, do you call when two people are at Ichudan, is that time wasting if they're not attacking? I don't think so, right? And I don't think it's the same. When there is obvious time wasting in using Tsuba-zerei for time wasting, right? The Shimpan are empowered to penalize the players for that, okay? When they're not doing that, that means that the Shimpan are judging that not to be time wasting, all right? So what that means is they're judging that to be a essentially an example of semei between the players. That's both players applying pressure and semei to each other, looking for a chance to strike. Is that abused? Yes, sometimes by players. Yes, it can be abused. The frankly, the counter to that, if we feel that it is seriously a problem, I personally don't think that it is. But if we thought it was really a problem that lots of people were wasting time in Tsuba-zerei, then just make it stricter on the shimpan so that they give them less time there before they dish out hand soccer. Don't have to ban Tsuba-zerei. Ban hikiwaza. Just ban half a Kendo, it's like, I don't like it, as you could probably tell. I've said it before, and it might be controversial, might upset people me saying this, but the people that tend to sort of have this negative opinion of hikiwaza or techniques from Tsuba-zerei tend to be the people that aren't very good at them, don't know how to do them, or don't know many. So yeah, like, instead of sort of getting better at doing Tsuba-zerei or hikiwaza, understanding it more, they want to level the playing field by just removing the bit they're bad at. So don't fall down that trap. I don't think that, like, if you watch the All Japan Championships from 2 years ago, I don't think there's an excessive amount of Tsuba-zerei in that tournament. I really don't. I've never thought there was a lot of Tsuba-zerei at that level of tournament. There is more when you start to get down to like high school students, but you shouldn't be basing like decisions on all of Kendo on what like 16-year-olds do. Like, they don't get, they're not fully developed. The Kendo's not fully developed. Some of them are excellent Kendoka and some of them fantastic competitors, but their Kendo's not, they're like third dan. Like, they don't, they're not developed. Like, so yeah. I don't think we need to start messing around with different rules for Tsuba-zerei. I was happy with how they were before. I understand the temporary imposition based on allowing Kendo competition to continue despite the pandemic, especially in a country like Japan where they still haven't managed to fully get it under control. It's still sort of a bit up and down. But, like, once we're through this and past it and we're in a stable position where we don't have to worry about that as much, I sincerely hope we don't have to start messing around with extra rules on Tsuba-zerei because people have arbitrarily decided that it makes for cleaner Kendo because they don't get what's happening in the actual Tsuba-zerei. So, yeah. It's... I could go on for ages on it, all right, but I don't agree that it makes for cleaner Kendo. I think Tsuba-zerei and hikiwaza are extremely valuable and exciting aspects of Kendo, and just massively under practiced. About the question about why it's not Hansoku for allowing the opponent to place the Shinai directly on you for an extended period. Well, I mean, it sort of is. It's down to the referee's discretion. The thing is when you're a referee and you're sort of interpreting rules like that, you have to make a judgment call as to what the, you're not there to sort of keep interrupting the match, and sort of involving yourself in the match all the time. You don't want to be looking for chances to give out Hansoku. So, if somebody's just touching the other person with the Shinai, you got to kind of make a judgment call in a way that's like, is this an attempt to gain an unfair advantage? Is this somebody trying to abuse the rules or the refereeing situation? Or is it just the backwards and forwards of the Shiai? And does it make an overall difference? And, if it's literally just putting on, that's fine. But, like, what the rules are really there to sort of prevent is people, like, placing the Shinai on the shoulder and sort of putting all the weight on it. And that's not the same as kuzushi, by the way. Kuzushi is a technique where you actually can use the Shinai and your hands to break the posture momentarily. What we're talking about is where you kind of, say you get to Tsuba-zerei, you rest the Shinai on the neck and you lean on it, so you're sort of putting your weight on them, so they're having to carry your weight. It's a bit like, like in boxing when there's a clinch and there's like, they're trying to tire each other out that way. That sort of thing's not allowed. So you have to the referees have to assess what impact is this action having on the Shiai, and is it necessary for them to get involved or not? Is there, that's part of the decision-making process. Hi, Andy. The Shinai have 3 sizes, 37, 38, and 39. But what do those numbers mean? 39 what? Okay, so they've got more than 3 sizes. They start from 28, and then they go up 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 37, 38, 39. It means 39 is, it's not 39, it's 3.9 actually, or 39. It's 3 shaku and 9 sun, which are the old Japanese measurement system. All right, so it refers to the length of the Shinai. All right, so that's one of the things, that's one of my pet peeves, which I've mentioned before on here, is this sort of old wives' tale, this sort of myth that women and ladies should use 38s and men use 39s. Total nonsense and rubbish. All right, adults use 3.9 or 39. All right, 120 centimeter Shinai. That's what adults use, regardless of gender. All right. Men use one that's more than 510 grams, and women use one that's more than 440 grams. Okay, there are appropriate size 39 Shinai in both of those weight categories. Right, so adult women should use a women's 39, not a 38. Okay, you don't use a junior Shinai. Okay, that's one of my pet peeves, as you've probably noticed. Can you give me some insight into what exercises you've done with children you taught in Japan? Nothing special. There's no secret formula. There's no special magic practice that suddenly works. All right. What we used to do with the kids in Japan, and what works the best with kids, if you want them to get good at Kendo, not enjoy it. I'm not talking about what to do to get them to enjoy Kendo, because no one cares about that in Japan, right? You want them to get good, right? They've got to do suburi, they've got to do asabaki, they've got to do kirikaishi, they've got to do oikomi, and they've got to do kakarieko. All right, those 5 things will make kids really good at Kendo, right? And you do it until they cry, and then keep doing it more. When am I? Oikomi, by the way, if you don't know, it's a bit of a rare one. I'm going to do a video on this. Oikomi is where you use the whole length of the dojo and you do like several. The motodachi runs backwards while they receive the like men as you're running back down the length of the dojo, sort of thing. All right. Okay, next one. When I am doing men, my hands are supposed to. Are my hands supposed to kind of block the opponent's incoming men strike? I learned men for the first time last week, and that seemed to be happening a lot. Okay, so there's a bit of ambiguity around the term men. Men means to do men at the same time. It's a bit, like I say, it's a bit ambiguous because it's not really a technique, it's more like of a practice method where you both hit at the same time. And when you do, you are supposed to both hit at the same time, and you shouldn't have to block each other's Shinai, or, you know, interfere with each other's Shinai. So, yeah, effectively, you should be able to both pretty much strike at about the same time. It's not that simple, of course. One of you will always strike slightly before the other one, but you should both be able to sort of make contact with the men. When I say it's ambiguous, the reason I say that is because there is a sort of not mix up, but sometimes people use the term men to talk about debana men, which is where you strike men at the moment the opponent decides to strike. And it's not, it's a little bit, I don't think it's quite right to say that. Debana men isn't men. You hit debana men before the other person. So yeah, that's that as well. But neither of them involve any sort of blocking. Okay, but you know, you just get into grips with it, so don't worry, it'll come with practice and time. Hi Andy, like almost every other Kendoka, COVID has caused significant disruption to my planned grading timeline. I hope to take my grading for Nidan in 2020, but it looks like it won't happen until later this year or even next year if I'm lucky, potentially around the time I could have originally tried for Sandan. Do you know if the gap between gradings will be shortened or modified in some way temporarily to help people get back on track due to the delay caused by COVID? Thanks, and keep up the great work. So people have asked me about this a little bit. No, I don't think it will. if I'm honest. I don't think it will. There's a conversation that probably should be had about that, though, potentially. But the problem is we can't. You can't really do it because there's enough. You know, I don't know what your Kendo's like. I've not seen it, but there's nothing. We can't guarantee you would have passed in Nidan in 2020. Yeah. So that's where there's a difficulty in saying, well, assuming that they'd passed, they would have had a shorter time. So yeah. I don't know. Especially at this stage. They did do something similar in Japan, but in Japan what they did with the 8th dan grading, I think, if I remember rightly, is it was set to be in in May. I think it was postponed to, I want to say, September. And they said that anyone that passed would be registered as having passed in May. I mean, yeah, it's hard when it's been so much, you know, it's hard when it's like 12 months different or more. And especially at, so I don't think it was just the 8th dan they did that in Japan. I think they did it with 6th and 7th dan as well. But, you know, it's a bit different when you're talking about 6 months sort of being taken off that grading clock when you've got to wait 6 years before your next one. And when you've only got to wait 1 year. So especially at lower grades, I don't see it happening. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm sort of mixed on that. So yeah, if it's something in the UK that comes up, I don't know. We'd probably have to. It's probably a conversation that has to happen. I don't necessarily see it happening though. I wouldn't expect it to. So yeah. Yeah. Next one. Hi Andy, my sensei has mentioned that I hold my left heel too high up during Jigeiko and that I should have my heel only very slightly lifted from the ground. However, when I watch Shiai, I see most of the Kendo guys have their heel very high off the ground on their back foot. Obviously, I'm attempting to have the posture my sensei asked to practice, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, this is a difficult one. Your sensei's right. Your heel should not be too raised. All right, it shouldn't be too raised. If it's too raised, you won't be able to push forward properly and do good for Mikumi. You have to. There are exceptions, and there's times that rule can be bent, but you have to sort of be at a certain level before you can start messing with that too much. And if you're looking at very high elite level Shiai from Japan, you know, you can't necessarily apply that at this stage. All right. So if your sensei's saying that, I agree with them. Keep the left heel only slightly off the ground. It doesn't want to be too high off the ground at all. All right. Yeah. Hi sensei, what's the difference between Kendo and Kundo? Okay. I did a video about that several years ago now, probably about 4 years ago I did that. But I still feel the same on it, I think, mostly. For the most part. So go and watch that, Kendo versus Kundo, I think it's called. But in short, for the most part, for all intents and purposes, they're the same, but not the same. they're basically the same, all right? But there are some differences, and there's good reasons why those differences exist. But in a broad perspective, especially from the outside looking in, they're basically the same, just the different pronunciations of the same word. Last one. What is one-shot Kendo? So this is a great term. It's a term that we sometimes see used, especially when we talk about different types of Shinai. Like we talk about the Dobari type Shinai being good for sort of consecutive attacks or renzoku waza, and then Koto style Shinai being good for ippon uchi or one shot style Kendo. And what that means is that you sort of achieve ippon or a point in just one strike, a single blow. So from semi and bam, that's one shot, and everything's in that one shot, as opposed to what would be called renzoku waza or renda, where you make several strikes, pam, 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 and they kind of like this, and then pam, like that. That's a bit different, you know. So that's the sort of feeling. All right. It's not like a hard and fast, strict thing, though. Okay. It's just a loose term used to describe a sort of style that sort of Shinai favor. I think that's where you've got that from. Okay. That's it. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed. We had some fantastic questions there. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. You can pop a question in the YouTube comments, or you can join the Kendo Show Early Access group. Most of these questions are from there. It's free to join. There's a link in the description. Shop at Kendo Star. That's what keeps the lights on, keeps the camera rolling. Okay, shop at kendostar.com, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.